We are joined by the man that we just been talking about, Austin Theory, who looks fantastic, by the way, in amazing shape.
But you know the thing I find interesting about Austin Theory is most of the time, men, they say that the beard is male makeup, like we use it to disguise our lack of a jawline. You have this chiseled jawline and you disguise it. This is like, to me, somebody that shaves their head when they still have a good hairline. Why?
I guess it helps with the balance of me going from a kid to a man.
I love it. He's a man now, baby.
I love it.
Terry Funk 101. He told me to grow a goatee because it'll make me look tougher. And then he said, when you're my age, it'll hide your double chin. He was a Svengali and a genius. Now I am his age.
Yeah, years later, he was right.
A beard looks better. It makes you look tougher as well as you're still handsome.
Yeah.
He's growing up.
I completely agree. But we were talking about the year that you had and the perception that people had of you and how you've changed people's perception of you. We've seen you get more serious. We've seen you elevate a championship title. Like, explain what the last 6 months have been for you in your career.
Man, it's been a lot. Even, this whole last year of having that first run on the main roster, signing with WWE in 2019. But really getting to the main roster after that draft in November, I believe, of last year. The people I've gotten to be in the ring with and the people that I've, had the privilege to work with, man, it's been a ride. But I think the briefcase is where we got a lot of controversy. Basically, it just kind of was getting to the point, if you were looking at it from like a wide scale of where's this going, and you look at Roman Reigns, he's pretty much immortal right now. So I think for me, in a sense of I need to be way more built up to look even possible to beat Roman Reigns. So the briefcase was just kind of an anchor on me, as much as it was in the promo of what I said. It was a lot of it was kind of true. And I think that's what kind of made everybody kind of understand it. Like, oh, it, kind of makes sense. Like, what else are you supposed to do? So then I looked to the United States Championship, and the guy that was holding it at the time was Seth Rollins, which is one of the best champions in the past decade of the WWE. So to me, that was my opportunity. But I think how everything turned out and how it worked out, and honestly, it was one of those things that I don't think there was a plan. I think it just, hey, this is what we're doing this week. We're just, there's.
Well, you hear them say all the time, believe in the process, right?
Yeah, right.
And I think this would be an example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you got to kind of, all right, cool. Sounds good. You don't know what's going to happen, but I think just staying positive about it and just hoping, for the best. And I think it worked out pretty good. And of course, like, it's on me to, make that other side better. And I was fortunate enough, especially with Dolph Ziggler, somebody that is so giving, and especially, in that time of that character change, that's really the guy that I got to show that switch on. And he gave me a lot. And I think, I can't thank him enough for that,
Awesome.
But it's been amazing with you is that you've had, I feel like the briefcase wasn't the first moment. You've had these moments in your career where when the moment itself happens, fans are like, oh, they're rolling their eyes or whatever. And they don't see that like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months down the line, like this is starting something that it's on you to make work. But so far you've made it work. Like I almost joke with people about the fact that the golden egg that you got, that everybody rolled their eyes at when it was happening, that was the start of the story of Austin Theory that then led all the way up to a pretty huge WrestleMania moment for you.
Yep.
And then you kind of come full circle. You have the briefcase. You get to this point where it's like, oh, they're done with him. Oh, he's dead. Oh, and it's like, no, just give it a week. Like, let me see if I can make this work. And you go and you make it work to the point where we're like watching you in the main event of Raw. And you're like, yeah, but this was the first step that had to happen to get here.
Right.
Has seeing that process and the fact that you're able to pull that off given you confidence?
Absolutely. I think I'm definitely a confident person, but I would say that I think I really enjoy like the feeling of the unexpected. And that's how it works here. It's like at any time there's, you could feel like there's no pressure on you, and then there's all the pressure in the world on you. And I think just not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow that's just the way I like to live, spontaneous. And that's just how it feels. And yeah, I mean, I think there's always a chance of failing. That whole character change it just could have been bad, but I think it's like just that risk and that, awareness of not knowing what's going to happen. That's what I find like enjoyment in. So
I think you're a great example of anything can happen in the WWE. It's a statement that is said from, I've heard it from Vince, I've heard it from Triple H, and you're that guy. If you think about when you come up, it's also during the pandemic, right? You were thrust on a stage with no audience, and we all work for the emotions. And then you go down to NXT, and like Sam said, they're burying him. You're done. It's a growth process, and you excelled in NXT. That whole storyline, I mean, that you with Johnny Gargano, that whole family was great. Then you come back up, and it's a new version of you, but a tweaked version of what we already had seen. And now we're just seeing another version of that tweaked version. And every single time you go out there, it's a different learning experience. And I see it from the veteran, but also I know you're feeling it, because I see there's moments in you where like that, there was a great moment of you standing on the desk where, by the way, it should be your profile pic because you were the biggest guy I've ever seen. And it was just like this moment for you, like, I'm in control now. I'm not this young kid. Do you feel like what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely like you can feel that change. Even like within the locker room, like you could tell like there's more of that seriousness behind it. And it's like, oh, okay. Like I feel like a lot more people see it now. And like you said, all it really is, just it's that same guy. It's just, tweaked versions of that. But it's just the process. And it's something that, it just isn't rushed.
And how old are you, by the way?
25.
Oh, it's crazy. Because it's also like, you're right. To bring up that NXT thing, I think is so crucial, because it's not just like tweaks. It's going, do you have this in your toolbox? Can you be an entertaining guy? Like, okay, we got that. You can hang in there. You can have this good match. You can be jacked. You know what I mean? You can look great. Can you be entertaining? Can you be funny? And it's like every single time you're nailing it. And at 25, that's scary, dude. That's scary.
But I also look, I'm a football guy. So the Bengals are playing in the AFC Championship game on Sunday. But the first few weeks of the season, they looked terrible. And everybody said, oh, it's the Super Bowl hangover. And now they're one win away from going back to the Super Bowl. The season is a process. And I feel like since you've come to the WWE, it's been a process. And I'm sure in this short amount of time, when you look at where you thought your career or your trajectory of your career has probably changed in your mind like a dozen times since you've been on the main roster.
Yeah, just because, I mean, the way you put it, it's just so unexpected. Like you don't know what's going to happen. And then especially now, like WrestleMania coming up, it's like, what's going to happen, and it has to be something, you know what I mean? And I feel like even going back to what we were saying with, the times where it's like, nobody believes in this guy. And I'm sure it's going to happen again and again and again. And I think it's just like one of those things of constantly proving people wrong. And then over that time period of them seeing it, I think that's when it finally really clicks with them,
For you, what was the moment that you realized, all right, this is working, this is clicking, this is succeeding?
Do you mean necessarily with the new character or just any time in the...
You know what? Just any time since you've been on the main roster.
Man, I'll say one moment that really stands out to me is back WrestleMania last year, and being in the ring and standing in the corner and watching, Mr. McMahon and Stone Cold argue in the center of the ring. And I just remember like standing there and like just looking around, and I was like, I know I'm about to run at Austin and throw a punch and get my ass kicked, but I was like, man, like out of all these people in here, I'm the one guy in the ring with both of them. And that moment. I think I remember getting stunned and laying on the floor, and I'm laying on the floor.
Jumping 10 feet in the air real quick before you lay on the floor.
But I remember I'm like laying on the floor, and I'm like, I got like one eye open because I want to, see what's going on with Vince and Austin, and just watching that, and like just knowing I was a part of that. I think it was like, all right, Austin, you got to have something, man, and that, yeah, I remember that moment so vividly, too, standing there and just how crazy it was, that atmosphere. And it was, out of all places, WrestleMania. Yeah.
What was it like at that stage, especially working creatively with Mr. McMahon, right? He's the guy running the show. You're still young. Yeah. And it's like, he's storyline. He's got his attention on you, but in real life, I mean, he wasn't on TV regularly before that. Now it's like, we're going to be working together on this storyline. Was that intimidating or?
I think it was, like the egg started everything. I just heard, Mr. McMahon wants to film this segment with an egg. And everybody was like, I heard about it, and it was him arriving with the egg and everything. And then they're like, oh, we're going to do a story. Somebody stole the egg. And then literally that day, they're like, you stole the egg. I was like, oh, I stole the egg. I was like, all right. So then we filmed the segment with Vince, and I remember like I was super nervous for that, and I was just like, so I stole an egg, and it's $100 million egg. And, okay, like I'm trying to figure all this out, and then that's my first thing with Vince. But it was almost like anytime we kind of filmed everything, it was so like it felt so fast, like we would do it, and then that would be it. We'd do it, and that'd be it. On to the next one or whatever it was. But especially like WrestleMania was interesting because we had no idea if we were going to have Vince in the match. We didn't know until like the night before. And then I remember that day showing up, and I met Stone Cold for the first time. And he was like, I was like, hey, how's it going? I'm Austin. Nice to meet you. And he was like, oh, nice to meet you. I'll be seeing you later tonight. And then he just got on the golf cart and like, kept driving. And then I was like, what is going on? And I just remember just got to Gorilla, and he told me the business, and I was like, all right, that's it. And then went out there, and then he gave me that look. And
that WrestleMania, though, for you is also a testament because like Pat McAfee is a natural and he's an incredible athlete, but he'd also only had 2 wrestling matches going into WrestleMania. So that's a lot on your shoulders to make sure that Pat's comfortable and like ready to do this, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, him being a super good athlete, and kind of just, he has that thing where he'll just relax. And I just said, man, let's just take our time. Literally, we have no time, but we should take our time, and not have 1,000 things we're trying to do. Let's just make it simple. We have Vince right there. We know what's happening. Like, it's easy, and it worked.
Yeah.
It was, I thought it was the funniest thing, like hooking him for a suplex and looking around, talking a bunch of trash. And then he just hit me with it. And then the whole crowd, and then after that, it was just history. So it was cool, man.
Yeah.
Austin, I want to thank you for the time. First of all, what we've been seeing from you is nothing short of tremendous, and you're so young, so you have so much ahead of you, and I'm sure there's going to be a big moment for you tomorrow night as well. So thanks for the time today.
Thank you, man. And I'm glad you didn't call me a kid, because gosh, they always call me a kid.
I would never do that.
Oh,
I would never do, Sam was going to call you that, but I would never do that.
No, and to be fair to Dave, anody that's 45 or under is a kid. He's an older guy. He's an older, he's an older guy.
Yeah, right. In that case, I'll be
about that. You're more than half my age. I would get up and shake your hand right now, but it takes me about 5 minutes to get out of the chair. So
I understand.
I appreciate the time.
No,
Thank you so
course.
much. All
Thank
right.
you.